What if the problem isn't you? What if you're in the wrong room? My suspicion? You're not broken and you don't need to be fixed. You've outgrown where you are. Let's get more space and freedom to redesign the life you deserve. Welcome to the Reinvention Room. I'm Allison Hare, podcast launch strategist for ambitious leaders, and we are rethinking everything we've been taught. Part pop culture, part real talk, and all smarter ways to live life on your own terms. When does gratitude start masking what actually needs to be healed? My guest today is Amberly Lago. Amberly is the best-selling author of the books True Grit and Grace and brand new chart-topping Joy Through the Journey. She's a top podcast host, speaker, and resilience coach whose story is remarkable. She's been featured on the Today Show, The Doctors, and Shape magazine. This woman, my goodness, she has survived sexual abuse, 34 surgeries, chronic pain, addiction, you name it. She's known for grit and unshakable positivity. And this conversation gets into the hard stuff, surviving trauma, chronic pain, addiction, and also the sneaky pressure high-achieving women feel to stay grateful no matter what. We talk about what it really takes to reset when your nervous system is fried and why community is really a non-negotiable. And we talk about her PACER framework might be the reframe you didn't know you needed. And if you ever felt guilty for wanting more when everything looks fine, I know I've been there, you're in the right place. Let's get to my chat with Amberly Lago. Woo! I am so excited to welcome Amberly Lago, best-selling author, speaker, coach, all the things. Welcome, Amberly.
Thank you so much for having me.
Where are you calling me from today?
I'm back in Dallas. I feel like I have to always think, where am I today? I'm in Dallas. We moved here 3 years ago. And still, like I just flew in last night and I still, when I'm flying in, I'm like, oh yeah, I live in Dallas now because I lived in Los Angeles for 31 years, but I never seemed to lose my accent.
Well, you've got a thick one. What made you move back?
Well, it got a little crazy in LA. Well, we moved, COVID happened and we were really locked down and the homelessness was getting pretty bad. And then I think what it was one day I was out for a scooter ride, those little scooters that you ride around on. Yeah, I still ride one of those. I was out with my daughter on a scooter ride and we got hit by a car in a crosswalk and we had just recovered from that.
You got hit by another car.
I know. You might be thinking, look, your next book should be called Look Both Ways.
Oh my God.
And so we had just recovered from that. And now we were on our bikes because we tried to figure out things to do because we couldn't really go places and just trying to figure out fun things to do. So we made it, every single day to get out, and whether it was a walk or a bike ride or a scooter ride. And so we were on our bikes and I could see a homeless person coming towards me. And I knew they were about to jump me. And I just yelled at my daughter. I was like, Ruby, keep riding. And so she kept riding. The homeless person jumped me. I fell off the bike and I got up ready to fight. And I think they looked at me like, oh crap, I messed with the wrong person. She's crazier than I am. I guess the mama bear look in my eye, and it just broke my heart because I finally, the homeless person ran off. I finally caught up to my daughter and her hands were just shaking and she was so scared. And I called my husband, who's a former lieutenant commander, and he goes, well, what do you want me to do? He said, call the cops. And I said, but you are the cops. Like, do something. He's retired. Wow. But he's like, call the cops. So I call the cops. And we're like 2 miles from home on our bikes. I call the cops and they're like, well, it's going to take a good hour for us to get to you. The crime rate is so high right now.
Wow.
And so I was like, you know what? The sun's going down. I just wanted to get my daughter home. And I could see that she was starting to get scared. Like we would go out, and I think because we had been hit by a car, she woke up one day. There was and we lived in a great area. We lived right off of Topanga near Mulholland, in a very nice area. And there was a homeless person sleeping in our front yard. And so I could tell she was starting to get scared, and was scared if I would step off the curb. She'd say, Mom, get on the sidewalk, get on the sidewalk. She didn't want to go outside and ride her scooter anymore, didn't want to go out and ride her bike. And I thought, something's got to change. And so
Yeah.
we decided to move back to Texas. And I miss California, the hiking and the weather and the ocean and my friends, but it has been the best thing that we could have done for her. She is thriving. And when
Wow.
we first moved, I remember sitting in my office and I looked out the window and I saw her and her cousin riding scooters in their bathing suits back and forth on the sidewalk. And I thought, first of all, there's no way I would have let her ride her scooter in her bathing suit, like out in the public, in public in California. I just wouldn't feel
Yeah.
safe. But it's safe enough that I felt like, yeah, you can go ride scooters all over the neighborhood by yourself. And so she is thriving and become such a little Texas girl. She drives a F-150 and she rides a horse and she puts
Uh-huh.
together truck meets.
Wow. Amberly, you are known for grit, for resilience, for joy, for gratitude, for connection. I'm curious, growing up in your household, what were you taught in terms of grit and resilience in getting back up, if anything at all?
Oh, yeah. First of all, we didn't have much money. And there were plenty of, Christmases where we weren't sure if we were going to get presents. And I remember there was one Christmas where my mom had told us, I'm so sorry, there are no Christmas. We can't do Christmas presents this year. And somebody had left a box of money on our front porch. And that enabled us to have gifts that year for Christmas. And
Wow.
um, so I started working when I was 8 years old and babysitting, believe it or not. And I got $1 per kid. So the more kids I could babysit, the better. If I had a family with 3 kids, I was like, score, I'm making $3 an hour. And then I started I went under my dance instructor. I was a dancer and I was in track, and having a uh, hardcore track coach and a dance instructor that was also hardcore really helped me. It was hard. It was hard work, but that taught me grit. It taught me resilience. And I really went under my dance instructor's wing. She took me under her wing and she taught me not just how to be a teacher, a dance instructor, but she taught me the business side of it, how to run a business, which has helped me throughout my whole life. And but if I wanted something, I had to work for it. If I wanted more dance lessons, I had to work at the dance studio and earn my keep. You know, um, if I wanted a car, it was up to me to buy it. So by the time I was in high school, I worked at the cookie jar. I was babysitting. I worked at the dance studio, and I was scrubbing toilets. And in the summer, I was a lifeguard. And it taught me a lot about grit. And I think that dance injuries and bleeding toes and, the show must go on, and my track coach yelling at me saying, you're going to throw up off the track to throw up, and then you better keep running, taught me a lot about grit. But I had to relearn a lot because I got I was really good at the grit. I wasn't good at a lot, but I was really a hard worker and I was good at gritting it out and just pushing through and pushing hard. And it wasn't until later on in life that I had to learn to give myself grace. And I still do, it's still hard for me. In fact, I just got in town late last night and was feeling a little run down. It was a long event. It started at 8:30 in the morning and I didn't finish until 11 o'clock at night, and being a little tired. And because I'm I was diagnosed with a nerve disease called complex regional pain syndrome. It can kind of sneak up on me. And I think my husband has a little PTSD because he's like, no, don't go to the gym. I think you're about to crash. Don't go to the gym. And I'm
Wow.
like, no, I'm going to be okay. But I've had to really learn when to like grit it out and push through further than I thought I could go, and then learn to back off and give myself grace and the rest and the recovery and just the self-care and the kindness.
Yeah, and I really want to frame up this conversation because there are all these planting seeds. You've had some really catastrophic things happen in your life as well as unbelievable amazing things. Like truly the highest highs and the lowest lows. Can you would you be willing to share what happened to you at age 37?
Oh, yeah. And yeah, I was on a really high. I was like, finally got the man of my dreams. We were married, healthy kids. My career was booming. I went from being a professional dancer to having a successful business in the fitness industry. And I was sponsored by Nike, regularly contributing to Shape and Health magazine, writing articles. I was on the cover of vitamin labels. Like you would walk into any CVS or Walgreens, and there would be my picture. It was pretty
Wow.
wild. And I had several other trainers that I employed, and I taught a certification preparation course. And so I taught other trainers how to become trainers and then run their business as a trainer. So I was living the good life. And I really kind of thought, wow, all that hard work and finally things are good. And I was coming home from work on my Harley, cruising along Ventura Boulevard. It was a holiday weekend and just feeling the wind go through my hair. And then, man, everything changed in the blink of an eye. I had this, I had this SUV like shoot out of a parking lot. I guess he was trying to beat traffic. I don't know, but I didn't have time to do anything except for jump off my bike, let go of the clutch. And it was too late. I got T-boned. I was thrown 30 feet and I was sliding
Oh,
across the asphalt. And when I finally came to a stop, I remember just looking down at my leg and there was blood everywhere immediately. And it was like it's just like it is in the movies where it just was squirting out like with every pulse of my heart. It was, and I
oof.
didn't know it at the time. And it was because my femoral artery was severed. And believe it or not, but all the entrepreneurs listening will probably relate to this. Maybe, I don't know. One of the first thoughts I had was, oh, this can't be good. I might have to train clients on crutches for a while. Like I literally was already thinking about how am I going to keep
Wow.
running my business? I got to keep a roof over my head. I mean, because I was like, how am I going to just keep moving forward? And then I was screaming some cuss words and thinking, oh, my Methodist mother would not be proud of me right now. But the pain was like it's undescribable, the pain, and I couldn't hold the screams and the cuss words in, and people were just looking at me. They weren't running over to me, and luckily there was a guy who did come over and immediately take his belt off, and he made a tourniquet around my leg, and he really saved my life.
Wow.
And the paramedics were right down the street. They heard the accident. They were at the Coffee Bean and they started running towards me before they even got the call. So everything lined up perfectly to where, this guy made a tourniquet around my leg. The paramedics were there. I was rushed to the hospital. When I got to the hospital, it was chaotic. There was just this screaming, wailing, crying. I was like, what is that? And it was my husband, and he's a big, strong, tough guy, first responder. I
Oh,
had never seen him cry, and I guess it's different when you see your loved one down, and I screamed across the room. I was like, because I thought, well, this might be it. I might be dying, and I really need to know that he is gonna hold it together for our kids. And I screamed across the room. I was like, honey, get over here now. I said, I need you to be strong for me. And he came over and held my hand. And that's the last thing I remember before they put me in induced coma. And then I
Oh,
guess when I was in a coma, they were going to amputate my leg. And my husband said, you can't amputate her leg. You don't know Amberly. Like, that has to be her decision. I want her to wake up with both of her legs. And so now when my husband and I get in an argument, he'll say, you have both of your legs because of me. And I'm like, okay, you win again. You win again. But I woke up from a coma, and the first thing I learned was, yeah, they said, I'm so sorry, Amberly. This is like a war wound. There's really nothing we can do for you. Um, we need to amputate. You have a 1% chance of saving your leg. And in that moment, all I heard was, there's a chance. I've got a 1%
wow.
chance. Well, then, holy cow, there's a chance. And we need to find a doctor who is willing to take that chance with me. And boy, that took an act of God. But we found a doctor who went through surgery after surgery, 34 in total, and they saved my leg from amputation.
Unbelievable.
It was quite the journey. And I really thought the worst was over. It's like sometimes you get through life and you're like, "Whew, glad that's over," only to get hit with a tidal wave again. And it's like, I thought the worst was over. And when I was out of the hospital about 4 months later, I went to a doctor's appointment thinking he was going to be proud of me because I was actually out of my wheelchair and upright on crutches when they said there's no way I would be bedridden for up to 2 years. And I thought he's going to be so proud of me. And he took one look at me and then examined me, and he said, you've got something very serious. You've got a nerve disease. It's called complex regional pain syndrome. Your life is never going to be the same. You're going to be permanently disabled. And he told me that I would need to get back into my wheelchair and be wheelchair bound for the rest of my life. And I just thought,
Mm.
that's not the vision I have for my life. I mean, nothing against anybody in a wheelchair. My little brother's been in a wheelchair his entire life, but that's not the vision I had for my life. And so, um, I vowed to myself that I would work hard and be an example of resilience for my kids and not a victim of my circumstances. And and some days still, I'm not going to lie, some days it's still really hard. But I have learned that, pain has been my biggest teacher. And one of the things I've learned that pain has taught me is that you don't have to be defined by your circumstances. You can hold that vision and catch your dreams, and also that pain and joy can coexist, and you can choose to build upon the joy.
How did you know? How did you know to run towards the 1%?
I think my whole life I was kind of an underdog. Um, I mean, I didn't grow up in a safe home. I was, sexually abused by my stepfather, and I didn't want to tell anybody because told me he told me if I told anyone that he would kill my mom, and I believed him. And
Wow.
when I finally got up the courage and asked my dad for help, I said, "You got to promise you won't tell anybody." Well, my dad kept his promise, and he didn't tell anybody, and he didn't do anything. And in that moment, my first thought was, well, I'm just not worthy of being loved or protected. I'm not,
Oh,
and then my next thought was, well, if I'm going to get better, if I'm going to get through this, then it's up to me. And it's up to me to get stronger in every way and stand up for myself and fight for my safety and for my freedom and for my happiness and my joy. And so that's what I did. I started to look for things that would bring me joy and make me feel safe and make me feel good about myself. And, in being a dancer, I was the youngest, smallest person that made the dance company, and it's only because I stayed later and got there early and worked harder and took more classes. And my chances weren't great, but I did it. In drill team, I was the shortest person and not very good. And throughout the whole entire year, I moved up to the very center of the drill team, and so I think that because I didn't have it easy, because I didn't, I remember when I knew from a young age that when I grew up, I wanted to be a professional dancer, to move to, Hollywood, California and be a dancer. And everyone told me, who do you think you are? There's no way you can do that. You'll be right back. I remember, packing my bags and loading my little car up. And my mom was like, why are you taking everything? You're going to be back in a couple of weeks. And I was like, no, I'm moving. I'm going to go after my dreams. And my stepmom saying, I think you're making a big mistake. And people even laughing at me. And a month later, I did my first music video and I was in MC Hammer's Can't Touch This dancing. And so I I don't know about you, but when somebody tells me I can't or it's not possible, it's motivation to me. And
Wow.
even when I wrote my first book, I didn't own a computer. I had no social media at all. Didn't even I had
Is that right?
I had an Instagram account, but nothing posted on it. It was only to stalk my oldest daughter. Didn't know. And people were like, "You wanna write a book? There's no way. You don't even have a college education." And so I was like, "Well, then I'm for sure gonna write this book." And I hand wrote about 90% of my book in a notebook. Still love these notebooks just like this.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, I got an editor, and I think it's really important to seek counsel and not opinion, because so many people that were giving me their opinion, they had never written a book. They didn't Of
Right.
course they would tell me that it wasn't possible.
Yeah.
They had never done it. How was I gonna do it? When I sought counsel, I went to somebody who had published 74 books, and he's like, "Of course I think you should write a book, and this is all you need to do." And so I was like, "Okay, well, what kind of computer do I need?" And he taught me, well, this is the kind of laptop you need. I typed it all up. Lo and behold, got it published, and it launched, the day it launched was on the Today Show, and it became a bestseller. And so I kind of thrive on a challenge, I guess.
I mean, you defy the odds all over the place. And, what I think is so interesting about you, if you don't mind, I know you've been public about your story on substance abuse as you were healing from that, catastrophic experience. And, I just am seeing these points in your life where it would be so easy for you to take a path of victim, and not victim is like the world is against me, right? But like you could take a beat, but you are built. I don't know if you're built differently or this is something that you have like consciously chosen despite it almost feels like the vortex of hell sometimes, of like just sucking you back into something that you just have had unimaginable experience and tragedy in your life. Can would you be willing to share about the substance abuse?
Yeah, because I mean, I don't think that I'm really built differently. I just think that I really work at trying to be better
Yeah.
and be my best so I can serve others, because
Gives you more
uh,
control too. Yeah.
well, let me tell you, it makes me emotional thinking about it, because here I had survived this horrific accident and 34 surgeries, and I could not get out of pain. And what I realized being stuck in the hospital bed was I didn't know that, I became a runner. And I said earlier that I
After, did you become a runner after the accident?
sexual abuse. I
Okay.
started running track after the sexual abuse, I really dove deep into track and dance and, athleticism. And
Movement.
I think
Yeah.
part of it is scientifically proven to make you feel
Yes.
better. Second, running around the track is where I connected with God the most, more so than I did in church. And the whole time I would run around track, I would pray. And
Wow.
third, I did it because it made me feel good because I was winning first place. They wanted me to go to the Olympics. I set a record in Texas for running the fastest mile. And I chose dance over track. I had to make a decision. And I chose I chose that. So I started running and I didn't realize I was actually not dealing with any of the feelings. I was running
Mm.
from it. The fear from it fueled me, and the pain from it pushed me, and it wasn't until my purpose pulled me that I could get out of that. But I really was stuck in this hospital bed and I didn't have any tools. I couldn't run. I couldn't work. I couldn't do anything but sit there in my feelings. Then I was trying all these things to get out of pain. I mean, I had spinal stimulator, Eastern Western medicine. At one point, I was on 73 homeopathic pills and 11 prescription medications,
What?
ketamine infusions, stem cell, spinal radio frequency that can paralyze you. I mean, you name it. Anybody
You're
that
doing
said they
it.
could get me out of pain, I was like, sign me up. I don't. We had
Yeah.
a lien on our house. We had $2.9 million worth of medical expenses. I
Oof.
could not get out of pain, and I didn't have a sense of I'd kind of lost my sense of purpose because I'd tried to go back to training and it was so painful I couldn't stand for long periods of time. And so I remember having a glass of wine and thinking, oh, wow, this kind of helps. Why didn't the doctors just tell me to knock one back? Like,
Right.
kind of helped the pain, and it helped me stuff down the feelings of shame and frustration and just not feeling good enough and hating the way that I look because I'm scarred from the hip down. And one glass led to two, led to three, led to a whole bottle. Before I knew it, I went down quick and became an alcoholic, just like so many people in my family, that I thought I was so different. And I realized alcoholism does not discriminate. And also, I learned connection is the opposite of addiction. I'd kind of isolated
Mm.
myself. I didn't want people to
Mm.
know I was in pain. I didn't show anybody my scars. I didn't tell them what was wrong. And what I've learned is that connection has is really saved my life. Having the courage to ask for help. I got sober in 2016, and I say that, I don't think I'm made differently. I'm just trying to get better every day. And if I don't work on the things to help me get stronger and more resilient mentally, physically, spiritually, financially, I mean, in every way, every day, then I don't get to keep my sobriety. I mean, still, even though I was at an event the last couple of days, I was still online at my recovery meeting because that is what's important to me. I had to get really back to basics. And I think it's really important for us to know what our non negotiables are because I started to let mine slide. And if I do that, that's very dangerous for an alcoholic like me because it would be easy to pick up a drink. And, I was driving down the road the other day. My mom called and she goes, well, what are you doing? I said, oh, I'm on my way to my meeting. She goes, what meeting? I said, my recovery meeting. And she goes, oh, you still go to those things? And I said, yeah, I'm still sober. That's how I get to stay sober. And when I get to stay sober, then I know I can get through anything and I get to have the life and the gifts and the blessings that I have now. So I don't take it for granted. And I really, think it's, like I said, important to know those non-negotiables. And also, I've had to halt, which stands for never get too hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. Because if I get any
Mm.
of those things, then it's easier to pick up a bad habit or not be where you're supposed to be, where you're going to make the biggest difference, or just not take care of your health, or snap at your spouse or your children, or whatever it may be. And the joy can leave. And if you want to be more joyous and free, to really get down to basics, halt and know your non-negotiables, the things that bring you joy, that fill your cup, that allow you to be grounded and spiritually connected.
Hi, it's Allison. Thanks for listening. Do you have a podcast idea that just won't shut up? It's probably trying to tell you something. You know that your voice can boost your influence, your impact, and yes, your income too. So don't push it off anymore. You need to let your people find you. Book a free clarity call with me at AllisonHair.com/free call. You'll walk away with clarity, a custom game plan, and if it makes sense, we'll talk about bringing it to life together. If not, you'll still have a 3D roadmap you can run with. You will be so glad you did. Tell me about your non-negotiables. What does going back to basics mean for you?
I mean, it's pretty simple, but it's things that I need to do on a daily basis in order to feel good. And so even when I'm on the road, I travel nonstop. And even when I'm on the road, I I stick to this. And if I have to be, downstairs, to the stage for a tech check at 7:30, then I'm up at 4:30, so I can fit in my non-negotiables, which are I start my day with prayer, and I actually get on my knees and pray, because it reminds me how small I am and how big God is in my life, and that He's bigger than my problems. I have a gratitude practice, and I say practice because I know some days when it's hard or you're struggling, that it might be hard to be grateful, but there's always something to be grateful for. And I can guarantee you that gratitude will change the way you feel about your circumstances. It shifts your perspective. It's alchemy. It turns what you can't do into what you can do, and what you don't have and to what you do have. And if I can be grateful while I was stuck in a hospital bed, looking down at my leg that was held together by metal rods, not knowing if today or tomorrow was the day that I was going to have my leg amputated or even die through surgery, and I could still be grateful, and I could feel what that did for me, emotionally and spiritually, then there's always something to be grateful for. But I have an accountability. I've got a group of ladies, we call ourselves the God Squad, and we write what we're grateful for to each other every single morning, or sometimes at night. And moving
And
my
you share it
body.
with each other?
Yeah, so we use
Oh,
an
that's so
app.
great. I love that.
Yeah, we and it's super easy. We made it super easy. So we just have a text thread, and
Yeah.
there's an app, and I'm not affiliated with this app at all, but it's called My Spiritual Toolkit. And every day, like, I used to take my books with me, like heavy books with me, because I love books. But this app, when I'm traveling, I can get it on my phone, and it has like a reading out of, my daily reflections. It's got a prayer. And it's got a place where you can fill out 10 things you're grateful for. And then you just click a button and you can send it to your friends. And so we do that. And then moving my body every day, even on days where I'm tired or I don't feel like it, I just do what I can. And I think about, like, I get to move my body. When there were times that I couldn't walk into the gym, but I've had people go, well, I can't move my body because of this or because of that. And when I was in the hospital and completely bedridden, I mean, I couldn't even use the bathroom on my own. I couldn't get up
Mm.
to use it. I had to use a bedpan. And I asked the doctors to bring me and install a pull-up bar over my hospital bed. And they thought I was
Oh
crazy. And
my
I was like,
God.
I need to be able to do some
Oh,
upper body to keep my upper body strong. And it wasn't
yeah.
just to keep my body strong. It was because moving your body lets you know that you're alive. It releases endorphins. It's those feel good
Yeah.
hormones. It boosts your confidence, and it makes you feel like you're moving in the right direction. And it actually gives you energy. Like today, I was dragging and I was like, well, I got to go to the gym. Here's my break. This is the time to go. And I get in there and I didn't have the best workout, but I at least did something and I felt better for it mentally and physically. And so those are just a few of my non-negotiables, and then good nutrition.
Yeah.
I mean,
What
I
does
take my
mobility
food
look
with
like
me.
for you today? What
I'm
does
sorry,
mobility
what?
look like for you today?
What did what?
Mobility. What does
Mobility?
mobility look like for you today? Are you able to, like, I think you dance. I think that, like, I've seen you on stage just dancing and just having fun. What does mobility look like for you? What brings you a
Well,
ton of joy in terms of movement and what you can do?
well, it's funny that you noticed I dance on stage. I can't control it, just comes out. I can't help it. It just
That's beautiful.
happens. And I love it because I actually had somebody that was like, Amberly, do not dance on stage. It's not professional. And I was like, well, when I went and spoke to, 300 of the highest level firefighters, like all the captains and chiefs and everybody of California, I didn't go and do the snake and, backward dolphin. When I was speaking to
The
them, I just
snake.
walked up. But for the most part, I do get up and dance because it brings me joy. And you know what? I love, I was speaking at this event a couple of weeks ago, and it was a 13-hour event. And I was the last speaker. And it was just going on and on. And these poor people, I know they were hungry because I was hungry. They hadn't, it was now almost 8 o'clock at night and they hadn't had dinner. And I was like, great, I'm the last speaker. They
Right.
wanted me to get the energy up and wrap a big bow around the whole event, end it strong, And so I was like, they were like, where's Amberly? Where's it? And I was like, I'm not coming in from backstage. I'm coming in from the middle of the audience and I'm going to get people dancing. And it was probably the most fun keynote I've ever done because
Hmm.
just everybody, I got everybody's energy up and they were standing up, moving around and it was just I felt like I was in my zone and when I'm on stage, it's the only time this is so wild. It's the only time I feel no pain.
Hmm. Is that right?
And it just I mean, it makes me like emotional to think about it. But yeah, I have no pain at all, zero when I'm on stage. Um, and then right after I get off, I don't usually have pain for a little while. And then it creeps up and it creeps in, and it's usually pretty bad. Like my leg is actually
Wow.
still pretty swollen today just from being on my feet for a couple of days at this event and then flying. But I mean, I feel grateful that I can fly because there's a lot of people that have, been diagnosed with complex regional pain syndrome like me and they can't even
That's like the
fly.
suicide. What is it called? Like the suicide?
It's
What is it
dubbed
called?
the suicide disease because it's
Damn.
ranked highest on the pain scale. There's apparently no known cure yet. Um, And it's for lack of a better term, it's like a computer that needs to be rebooted. Everything's out of whack. Your nervous system, your sympathetic nervous system is out of whack. And so, for instance, like most people love to go get pedicures. I dread them because to touch my right foot, to massage it, to even like this, to file or even when, they put the tissue between your toes to paint your
Yeah.
toes, I'm like, "Oh," I cringe because of the pain
Wow.
that it gives me. I can't even wear like, I was so sad when I had to give away all my cute workout pants that were tight fitted around the ankle. I can't have anything tight
Hmm.
around my ankle or it will flare me up, and because this pain and mine's in my right leg, some people have it full body. I just have it in my right leg. And it's dubbed the suicide disease because of the pain is relentless and just never ending. People either commit suicide because they can't bear the pain, or they slowly kill themselves, like I was doing with alcohol, because they're just trying to get relief.
Unbelievable. And it's so funny that your name is synonymous with joy and grit and resilience. And to me, it sounds like this has been an active choice again and again and again and again and again and again. And one of the things that I've been really eager to get you on my show to talk about, when I think about your gratitude practice, I think a lot about um, you are somebody that understands hustle and grind and hard work. And for so many years, as a society, it has been celebrated, right? Get there early, stay there late, work hard, outwork anybody. You can get anything you want if you work hard enough for it. And where I think that we, as midlife women, run the risk of is burnout, and the burnout of working so hard where it almost feels like the gratitude is always coupled with guilt. And that gratitude, like for me, I'm somebody that actively deals with this. I am insanely grateful for the life that I have. So the guilt feels like, why isn't this enough? Why don't I feel like I am fulfilled? Why can I rest? And I know that you've got a framework called PACER.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wonder about the risk. This is like 50 questions all in one. Hopefully I can get to a point. But I appreciate you with me here.
Yeah.
But I wonder about if we are always looking for the gratitude aspect of it, how do we identify when we are maybe not dealing with maybe our trauma or challenges? We're not healthfully dealing with it and slapping a band-aid of, I'm so grateful for the sky. It almost is like there's a difference between relief, which can be super helpful, and healing. And so I would love to get your perspective on guilt and gratitude as it relates to burnout and true healing.
Well, I mean, I so relate to this. And actually, when I started writing Joy Through the Journey, so I had this idea to write this book, and I had a publisher approach me, and they were like, "We'd like to write a book with you." And I, you know, proposed this book, and they said yes. I got the book deal, and then it came time to start writing it, and I told them, I said, well, I won't be able to start writing it until I have, you know, finished with my annual event. And let me tell you, they were calling me the day after my annual event,
And
and I'm
running
like,
events are a
I
lot
don't
of
have
work,
anything.
a lot of energy too, to run an event.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
It's like planning a wedding, basically. I think
Yes.
it's bigger than any wedding I've ever had. But I remember going, I'm going to write a book about joy, and I have not been as joyful lately, and I've always been a
Mm.
pretty joyful person. And then something happened. Talk about burnout. Talk about burning the wick from both ends. And then the guilt and the beating myself up. And I talk about this. And I thought, I can't write a book about joy unless I am really living it and it's authentic to me. So every
Yeah.
single chapter in the book, it was tested over the last couple of years from experience. And the first, the opening, the forward of the book is, I had been going, going, going. And in one day, I had 3 keynotes. They were virtual, but 3 keynotes to give. And had an infection. And after my last keynote, I was really not feeling good. I went to urgent care, and they were like, "You've got a really bad infection and we need to hospitalize you." I was like, "Oh,
Wow.
no, no, no. I have one more thing to do." And talk about the hustle. I was like,
This
"Nope,
is on my terms. Right.
yeah." I was like, I had a client that her new book was coming out, and I was going live on Instagram with her to help promote her book. And so they said, well, I guess we could let you try our strongest antibiotic. There are a lot of side effects that come with it, and we're not sure it's going to work. And if this doesn't work, you're going to have to go in the hospital. And I was like, it's going to work. It's fine. Well, of course, I didn't give myself any time to eat. So I went and picked up my prescription, popped one of those antibiotics. And by the time I got on the live, it was like my body had started shutting down. And then I was still pushing and hustling. And then my mind was just not working and I was crashing. It was like it was in slow motion and I was could think what I wanted to say, but the words were not coming out right. And
Mm.
I quickly got off the live, didn't even make it to the bedroom. I collapsed on the sofa and woke up the next morning. I was exhausted and sick and people going, "Are you okay? You just did not seem yourself." They were worried about me. And so that's when I really was like, okay, wait a minute. I need to create a life where I put self-care into place and not just going to get a massage or
Yeah.
that's all good, but creating a life that I didn't want to escape from, creating a life that wasn't going to just crush me and leave me like in ICU. Um, because I ended up in ICU septic one time from an infection. And you would think
Jeez.
that I would learn from that, but I just
Right.
kept pushing and pushing and pushing. And you know what? It really all came down to I had to ask myself, why am I doing this? What is it? Where is this really coming from? And I really think it goes way back. If I really went back and back and back and thought about it, it came from like, well, I'm just not worthy enough or I'm just not good enough. And I have to prove myself and I have to
Mm.
be worthy and I have to show up and I have to, keep working and that came from as a little girl, like not being seen or heard or protected or understood or and I
Not
really
being
had to
safe,
work
like
through
you
that.
said, your home wasn't safe.
Yeah, it wasn't safe. And so, you know, it that goes with your finances too. Like my husband and I got in an argument once and he was like cuz we had different views on money. We've got separate accounts. We've got a joint account, but we everybody's got a different relationship with money and he asked me one day. He was like, "When is enough going to be enough?" And it really helped me because I could go, okay, safety, feeling safe is really important to me because there was a time when I was like, okay, do I buy food? I was a single mom. Do I buy, a can of soup for us or do I buy toilet paper? Like it was that bad. And I thought I never want to be there again. And so I came up with a number in my head that that's what makes me feel safe. Like I can fall back on that. So as long as my bank account has that number in it, then I don't have to worry about things, and that's just like some weird thing. And people out there listening might think that's crazy.
No,
But
I think it's pretty common.
yeah, I was just like,
I think it's pretty common.
yeah, just whatever makes like when's enough going to be enough. Well, put a
Yeah,
number on it. How many clients are you going to have that, okay, that's where I feel safe. That's where I feel good. That is enough for
right.
me. How many speaking events in a year? How many like, and start getting a gauge on like, how many podcast interviews are you going to do? How many episodes of your own podcast are you going to do? And I started getting really discerning on the things that I would say yes to, because every time you say yes to someone else or to something, you're saying no to yourself,
Right.
no to time with your family. And so I think, having an assistant that helps me now, she's hardcore. Oh my gosh. Like
She probably fits right in.
she, no, like she's hard on me. She's like, no, Amberly, do I have to fire you from your own company? You are not working on a Sunday. We went over that. Sunday, we can do administrative stuff, but you are
Isn't
not.
this interesting? We talked about this before we spoke, and we talked about you being known for connection. And the through line that I keep hearing from our conversation today is there is almost um, a proclivity that I think we as women do, that when we aren't feeling good, our tendency is to self isolate, that we don't want to burden people. We don't want to feel bad. We don't want people to see us feel bad, especially when we're outwardly presenting as badasses, right? We're always over proving that we deserve to be in the room. And I think that the antidote to that is the community aspect and having people around you, being discerning about the kind of people around you. Can you share your PACER framework? Because when I heard this, like, I can't stop thinking about how brilliant this is and how helpful it is, even from a perspective. It's very meta. Of how we can apply this and maybe shift some of the little ways that we might almost deny ourselves from relief and joy by the community and by perhaps shifting the way that we look at things.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. And actually, I have to say that this whole methodology came about because my husband told me to pace myself. And as an entrepreneur, it really annoyed me. I was
Yeah,
like, it's kind of like when
I
somebody
feel
tells
that.
you, calm down. He said, pace
Right.
yourself. And I was like, "Oh, well, I do pace myself." And then I started writing down, I don't know why, but I just started writing down everything I did to pace myself throughout the day. And I came up with this pacer methodology, and it's still something I use every day, whether I'm tired, I feel frustrated, I'm on the brink of burnout, I'm anxious, sad, whatever it is. I go through this methodology and it helps me to go, oh, I know what I haven't done. This is what I need to do. And so it stands for perspective, acceptance, community, which I think is the most important part of PACER, endurance, and rest. I wanted to call it just the PACE
Mm.
method, but I learned over and over and over again the last part is just as important as every part of it. And the perspective, I'll just go through it quickly. And I go through it in depth in my book, and I also did a TED talk on it. Perspective, the quickest way to shift your perspective and feel better about your situation, your circumstances, and where you are is gratitude. Gratitude is my medicine. Gratitude, and I can go down that negative into that negative thinking, and people think I'm the most positive person, and I'm not. I just work on it, and gratitude helps me get there. And I promise it works no matter what's going on. And you switch it to, well, what's good in it? What did I learn from it? How can, I grow from it? And what can I be grateful for in the lesson that this has taught me? Even, let me tell you, it even works when there was once I paid a coach thousands of dollars, thousands. I'm not even going to say how much, but thousands. And I got nothing out of it, like nothing,
Mm.
except
Oh.
for grateful. It was an inexpensive lesson. And I'm grateful that I learned the lesson of ask more questions, ask for other people that person has worked with, and being more discerning. That was a very expensive lesson, but I was grateful for that lesson. So that's what I do now. Um, and acceptance is the next part of PACER. And that I really feel like acceptance and awareness is the beginning of any transformation. Because I was in denial for so long. I did not want to accept that I was diagnosed with this nerve disease. I tried to pretend like I didn't have it. I would not take medication for it. And it wasn't until the third doctor diagnosed me and said, you've got to take radical action about this and get treatment right away, that I had to get into radical honesty and acceptance. And I think when we take the blinders off and we take a good hard look at who we are, what our actions are, where we are, that's when we can take action steps with grit And we can also connect with the right community if we're authentically being ourselves and being honest and having that awareness. And like I said, community is the most powerful part. Community, I I've learned to take contrary action when I want to isolate is the minute I reach out and ask how I can serve or ask how I can
Mm,
help or even ask how somebody can help me. But community, I don't look as an entrepreneur,
that's
it
really
can.
powerful. I just want to pause for a second because I think that like asking for help is probably the hardest thing.
Mhm.
And even identifying what it feels like to have somebody bear witness to you and you bear witness to somebody else. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I thought it needed a minute to breathe because I think there is so much wisdom that we can be going so fast that we forget it. And I think we know deep down, like usually our friendships and our relationships outside of the ones that we, our spouse, our children, our work cohorts, because you're there. I think so often friends get deprioritized um, because of other commitments and like how it is crucial to the success of like your well-being. Would you agree?
Oh, yes, your well-being. I mean, I couldn't stay sober if I didn't have community. I would not have so much joy on my entrepreneurial journey if I didn't have community. And it's like, look, I am a coach, but I have a coach. I have my own mastermind, but I'm a part of a mastermind.
Yep.
I have girlfriends. I've got, just being at this event, getting to hang out with some of my speaker friends and seeing friends that were in the audience that I hadn't seen in a while. It filled my cup. But as an entrepreneur, it can feel kind of lonely, especially if
Yeah.
you like I work in my home office. So I don't have any coworkers around me and my husband's retired and he does not understand the entrepreneurial journey at all. He just knows that I do some wild and crazy stuff.
Right.
And so when you can connect, one of my girlfriends was messaging me at like 6 o'clock this morning and was talking about like book stuff and publicity stuff. And it's like to be able to talk about those things is it's priceless. It's magic. It's what allows us to have endurance, I believe, in the entrepreneurial journey because it takes endurance, for sure. And that's where, our passion and our purpose come into play. But it is also so much about having joy throughout the journey, really taking time to notice what I call joy spotting and taking notice to things that bring you joy or going out there and being a joy sparker in the world and going out there and seeing it.
Ooh, Joy Sparker. What's a
Yeah.
Joy Sparker?
Joy sparker, look, and I say that word a lot. And I had one of my clients make me a bracelet that says Joy Sparker on it. Isn't that
I
sweet?
love it.
Um, uh, you know what? I think you never know what somebody is going through. And if you can, we all feel energy. I feel energy is everything and everything is energy. You can feel somebody's energy and you don't even have to be in their presence. You can feel their energy through the camera lens, through the phone, but especially in their presence. And I remember, just after we lost our dog, purposely thinking, I need to change my environment. I need to go out there and do some joy spotting, but I need to be a joy sparker and go smile at
Mm.
people because I needed to see them hopefully smile back at me and just feel the connection. We all, need that. We aren't meant to do hard things alone. We're wired for connection. And so I think joy sparking can be anything from smiling at somebody to giving them a genuine compliment, to reaching out to a friend and telling them, hey, I'm thinking about you and I'm grateful for you for this. Helping a stranger, paying it forward, volunteering your time, listening when somebody has, they're struggling. So that's how you how you become a joy sparker in the world. And noticing the joy is just like noticing the little things, like my little puppy dog that's asleep, thank goodness, underneath my feet and not chewing the internet cable
Been
or
doing
the blue
good.
sky. Yeah.
This is so beautiful. I feel like I could talk to you forever, and I have like a zillion other topics, but perhaps for another time. I think ending on joy would make a lot of sense, especially considering your new best-selling book is called Joy Through the Journey. How can people get in touch with you, book you, work with you, buy your book? What is the best way? And I know you have an Unstoppable Success Summit coming up at the end of April. In Dallas, I believe. Tell me, how can people work with you? Because you are freaking magic, and what a joy it has been to spend some time with you and learn from you.
Well, thank you so much. You can find everything actually on my website at amberlylago.com. It's AMBERLYLAGO.com. The Unstoppable Success Summit is what I'm most excited about right now. It's April 25th and 26th. And it's really it's men come too, but it's mostly for women who really I'm passionate about helping women get on more stages, write their book, start their podcast, really increase their influence and their impact so they can make a bigger income. So I've got speakers that help, like they share all their tools about speaking on stage and increasing their influence. It's just a great time to get together and collaborate, and it's just the most loving community. And so, it's our 5th year doing it, so I'm excited about it.
It sounds beautiful. And I'm going to link everything in the show notes. Amberly Lago, you are a force. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much.
Oh, Amberly, I had such a strong connection with her. Amberly's story is proof that joy isn't naive. It's earned. So if you're stuck between burnout and just be grateful, this is your permission to release the guilt and get honest about what you need next. All of Amberly's links, her summit info, and her new book, Joy Through the Journey, are in the show notes. Go find them, go find her, send her a DM, let her know you heard her on the Reinvention Room and that I sent you. And as for you, do you feel like you have been wanting to make a bigger impact with your life and your business? If a podcast has been in your sights, I have a fancy brand new website where you can book a free clarity call and let's get your show out into the world. Go to AllisonHair.com/free call. You'll be so glad you did. If you liked today's episode, there are several ways to support the show. I produce this show myself, so it helps me continue to make it. First, please rate and review the show on the platform where you listen, and consider sharing this episode with a friend or 5. That's how it grows, by sharing these ideas. Second, please sign up for my email where I send out a short personal note to you every week, and always with a sprinkle of snark and some best finds. You can sign up at AllisonHair.com/email. As always, thanks for listening and hanging out with me in the Reinvention Room.